Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 1 Semester 2 Review, Unit 10. Remember to show all of your work and place the final answers on the line. If you remember, Unit 10 was all about quadratic equations and functions. The first part says solve the following equations by factoring, inverse, SADMAP, or the quadratic formula. Okay, so you can use any one of these to solve. You might be like, well, when do I use them? Well, factoring, if the polynomial can be factored, is when you want to do it, because factoring makes the problem easier to solve. Okay? Some of them you can use inverses, and you're allowed to use inverses if there is no linear term in the equation. Okay? And the last one, when you can use the quadratic formula, you can use the quadratic formula at any time. You are always going to get the right answer if you follow the equation correctly. Okay? And then the last question is, what is the quadratic formula? Well, there it is right there. Remember that x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Okay, and there was a cute little song that we learned, and we sang it to you in class if you were there today. All right, let's go through and start working on these. So 5x minus 4 and x plus 3, it's equal to 0. Now, this one is already factored. And all we have to do is take everything that has an x and set it equal to 0. The 5x minus 4 equal to 0, and the x plus 3 equal to 0. And from here, all we do is inverse operations, okay? Add 4 to both sides. You get 5x equals 4. Divide by 5. And we get x equals 4/5. Okay? Same thing on the other side. We subtract 3 to both sides. And we get x equals -3. So our two answers are x equals -3 and 4/5. Okay. All right, number 3. Now, it's a trinomial. The first thing we always want to check to see is their GCF. And in this case, there's not. So off to the side, we're going to do the factors of 22, which are 1 and 22, 2 and 11. And I'm looking for numbers that add up to -9 and multiply to -22. And we get 2 and -11. Okay? So off to the side now, we're back to our equation. We are splitting the middle term. We're going to draw a line, and we're going to take out the GCF, okay? The GCF of the front is x. The back, it's -11. And we get x plus 2. Pull out a -11, and we're left with x plus 2. And this is good because that's what we want. So we get x minus 11, x plus 2 equal to 0. Remember, we're still solving because we've got that equal sign, equal to 0. Don't forget about that, okay? Everything within x we set equal to 0. And after you solve those two, you should get that x can equal -2 or +11. Okay, and the way I got those was just by doing the inverse. Okay? All right, number 5. Remember, always, always, always check to see if there's a GCF, and in this case there is. You can take out a -3x, okay? The GCF does not go away. It goes out front, and you're left with x plus 4 equal to 0. Okay, and the same thing, everything with an x, you set equal to 0. Those are your two answers. So we get x equals -4 and 0. All right, number 7. Is there a GCF? No, but this is the difference of two squares. Okay? The square root of 25 is 5x. The square root of 81 is 9. One's a plus, the other's a minus. And then you set everything with an x equal to 0. And then we would have to solve each one of these, okay? We would have to subtract 9 to both sides, so you get 5x equals -9, and divide by 5, okay? We're doing the same thing over here where you add 9 to both sides, and then divide. So x equals -9/5 and +9/5. Okay, number 9. So first thing, we have to make sure that it equals to 0. And we get -2x² plus 98 equals 0. Okay? We're going to take out the GCF of -2. The -2 comes out front, and we're left with x² minus 49 equals to 0. And now that's the difference of two squares. So we get x plus 7, x minus 7 equals 0. Everything with an x, you set equal to 0, guys. Okay, and that's where we get that x equals -7 and +7. All right, number 11. Now, we have x's on both sides. I want to move the smaller one. So we're going to move the x² to the other side. Move the 40 to the other side because we want both of those to cancel out so we can get 0. All right, is there a GCF? Nope. Well, then we are looking for the factors of 42 because we're looking for a group that adds up to get to 1 and multiplies to -42. 1 and 42, 2 and 21, I believe it's 3 and 14, and 6 and 7. Okay? So hopefully you guys are realizing that it's 6 and 7, and one of them has to be negative, and it's the 6. So we're going to split the middle term. This is the part that you guys need to be really good at by now, okay? I'm being nice because in class I didn't do this part, okay? You get x minus 6, you pull out the 7, and you get x minus 6, which is good. Both of those pair up. Okay? Everything with an x you set equal to 0, so x minus 6 equals 0, x plus 7 equals 0. And then once you solve those two, that's where we get that x equals -7 and +6. All right, let's flip it over. Number 13 is saying which of the following has no real solution. Okay, so in your heads, we need to go through and be like, oh, well, to solve this, we would square both sides, and we would get that x equals plus or -4. Okay, so that has the solution. Square root both sides, so those cancel, and you get x equals plus or minus, I think it's 2.45 ... okay? Square root both sides, and oh, can you square root a negative like this? No, that's NRS. So which one does not have a solution? That is C. Okay, number 14, saying how many solutions. Okay, so we got to figure out how many solutions does this have. Well, let's solve it. First thing you got to do is take out the GCF of 2. And we're left with x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 0. Now off to the side, the factors of 4, which add up to get to 4 and multiply to get to 4. Okay. Factor each one of those. And when you're done, you should get x plus 2 and x plus 2 equals 0. And when you set each one of those equal to 0, you get x equals negative 2. So how many solutions does this have? Well, it's got 2, but they're both the same. So in reality, this only has one solution to it. Okay? So and all we did was we factored out the GCF, then we factored the trinomial, and then we set them equal to 0. Okay? Now, be very careful when you're reading it, when you're answering the questions, for what it's asking for. Okay? This is saying to find the sum of the solutions. So once we find the solution, we have to add them up. Okay? So we get x squared plus 6x plus 5 equal to 0. Okay, why don't you guys go ahead and pause the video and see if you can factor this one all by yourself. Okay, good luck. Okay, after factor everything, you should get x plus 1 and x plus 5 equals 0. You set each one of those, the x plus 1 equal to 0, x plus 5 equal to 0, and you get x equals negative 1 and x equals negative 5. Okay, now this is asking for the sum of the two solutions. Well, those are its two solutions, so add them up. When you add them up, you get negative 6. Okay? All right, number 21. We have to graph the following quadratic equation. Anytime we're working with quadratics, we should always know what A, B, and C are. A is 2, B is 8, C is 1. Okay? Now, the first thing we need to do is to find the vertex, which is the opposite of B over 2A. So we got negative 8 over 2 times 2, negative 8 over 4, x equals negative 2. Okay? This tells us the exact middle of our graph. Okay? And now that we can go to lower than that and to higher than that, bless you, to find our answer. Okay? And now remember that when we're plugging these in, that those ones are going to be the same and those are going to be same, because this negative 2 right here, this is our axis of symmetry. Okay, that's the exact middle of the graph. Okay, so let's go ahead and take out our calculators so we can find out exactly what our answers are. All you're going to be doing is plugging those in. Okay, so the first one, here we go. We have 2 times negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 plus 1. Okay, and we get -7. Okay, and then we're going to do that for each one. 2 times -1 squared plus 8 times -1 plus 1. We get -5. Okay, and then you do the same thing for 0. And when you plug in 0, you should get 1. Okay, and now we have to graph that. So you get -2, -7 is your first point, -1, -5, 0, 1, and then do the other points as well. Okay? When you're drawing your graph, make sure it's rounded at the bottom. Okay? And just like we talked about, the axis of symmetry is this line that goes right down the middle, and that's right at x equals -2. And that's what we got from that information right there. Okay? All right, number 23 says find the vertex of the function, which is what we were just discussing, where we use x equals the opposite of b over 2a. A is -2, b is 16, and c is -15. So x equals the opposite of b is 16 over 2 times -2. And we get x equals 4. Now, the vertex is a point, so we need to know what the point actually is. And that's where we're going to plug in 4. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Plug it into your calculator. Okay, and you should get 17. Okay, find the equation of the axis of symmetry. Now, we were just talking about how the axis of symmetry was -2 and 21 because that's what the x point in the vertex was. So when you find this, all you have to do, opposite of b over 2a, okay? A is -1, b is 6, c is -8, and let's plug in the opposite of b, so -6 over 2 times -1. And that's what you should get. All right, 27, last one. Now, which of the following opens down and has a maximum? So remember that if it opens down, that's what the graph looks like, okay? Opening up would be just the opposite. And the way to figure that out is by looking at your quadratic term. And if it's positive, it goes up. It's negative, it opens down. So which one of those is negative? A is. Okay? There you go. Well, guys, that's it for Algebra 1, Semester 2, Unit 10 review. If you have any questions, please come see Mr. Carranza or myself. Otherwise, thanks for watching.